This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Darren Hazelwood, the CEO of Panther Metals, to take us through the company's new corporate presentation and get a snapshot of where the company is and what the company wants to achieve. So thank you very much for joining us today. Darren, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Mark. Great to be on again.
Yeah, good to be talking to you. So I'll leave it over to you, Darren, to take us through the presentation. I'll come in with questions as and when I think they might be appropriate or as they come to mind.
Yep, that's great. Okay, so first thing, this disclaimer, I'll just hold it on the page there. If people want to pause and have a read through that they should do, and they're more than welcome to. About us. Basically, this is just giving a snapshot of some of the achievements of the business over the last 3 years since we listed, but obviously geared towards what we've achieved more in the recent times. The business from the company that listed to where it is now is hugely different. And I actually think whilst the pandemic was a nightmare in operational terms, it actually enabled the business to move forward, and we're in a lot better place than we possibly would have been in terms of the quality of the assets that the company's got and where we sit. We're really at I genuinely believe we're at a transformational sort of stage in Panther Metals development.
Okay.
This gives you a snapshot of the business. The market cap's actually slightly down on this point. We're hovering around the 3.5 pence mark, which gives us a valuation of circa just over £3 million. We've got just under 93 million shares in issue, which we came to market 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, with 48 million. We've been protective of our shares in issue. We've only raised when we've really needed to. And there you get a snapshot of directors. Every single share that you see there from the directors have been paid for in cash. We've never been awarded a single share for anything linked to the business. So we've got vested interest in making this company work. ESG is so important today, and I think everyone would agree the world's changing and has changed for the better. There's a reason this is so high up in what we do. We take everything we do with the utmost importance, and especially in Canada, engagement with Indigenous communities is paramount, and it's something that I'm particularly keen on learning and developing. You have to build an understanding of what's going on and the history there. And anybody who comes to me on ESG, I'm always happy to learn and enable us to develop as a company, because it's going to play a bigger and bigger role in everything that explorers and miners are doing going forward. And I think that's generally recognised. Nobody wants to leave a scar on the landscape, and certainly not myself.
No, indeed.
So Panther Metals, value through discovery, our core projects. So let's walk you in. So all of our exploration projects based in Canada, and they're actually all within the confines of Ontario. Ontario is a jurisdiction that's built on mining. You can see via this map the number of operational mines. The entire landscape is littered with historic mines. In fact, to this day, on Manitou Lakes, for instance, which you'll see on the left-hand side there, that's got numerous historic adits. Big Bear, which is near the Winston Lake zinc deposit that we've done a deal with Fulcrum, who listed recently. Yeah, that's got over 10 adits in it. There's been mining in Canada for as long as there's been people on the ground in Canada, and it continues to deliver. And there are mines discovered to this day highlighted right in the centre. You've got Marathon. Well, there you've got Generation Mining, who are looking to bring into production in circa 2024 their platinum, palladium, copper deposit. That's become is going to become a very interesting project, and you see the IR there is quite immense. You've Hart Gold, that mine was opened only within the last 3 years. It's an area that is still providing economic discoveries, and economic discoveries of some significance. Mm-hmm. And the old saying is that where do you look for the mine? Well, in the head frame of an existing mine, and that is so true within Ontario, and don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, you're certainly surrounded by lots of exploration companies there.
Yeah, we've actually, since we've moved into Ontario, you've seen a number of UK companies enter the area as well. Not without good reason. They've seen, I think, in certain circumstances, they've seen what we've done, mm-hmm. and it's there to be rewarded. You've got to remember that as recently as 2017, 18 was the discovery hole. Might have been a little, even 2019, of the guys in Ontario up slightly up north, Great Bear Resources. That was a micro cap. They spent some time putting their land position together. Then they started drilling, and ultimately, without a resource, that was sold last year in a deal valuing them at 1.8 billion Canadian dollars. These deals are around, and that's why you've got the majors that are always looking at companies and what they're doing in Ontario, because it's so prospective, and it's still, as I say, it's still kicking in prospects, and it's still delivering returns for shareholders in some serious, substantial ways. Great Bear were hovering around at one point, I think 15, 20 cents. I do believe the deal in the end took them out at $28, and that was over a probably 3-year period. So it's extraordinary, but it's very doable in Ontario. But let's move on to project specifics. Obonga. Mm-hmm. Obonga sits approximately. Obonga's a greenstone belt, so it's in Archean rocks. They are circa 2.7 billion years old. They're some of the oldest rocks on Earth. And we have an option agreement with Broken Rock Resources on the Obonga Greenstone Belt. We currently have an option over approximately 88% of the entire Greenstone Belt. It's 2.5 hours drive from Thunder Bay. You can drive pretty much right up to the edge of Obonga. You'll see on the right-hand side of the map, you've got Obonga Lake. Obonga Lake actually has a huge number of what we'd know in the UK as effectively holiday homes. People go up there and spend their weekends there. It's a well-serviced area, but the actual Greenstone Belt itself it has no tracks or roads into it, so it's everything at the moment is helicopter supported. We can put a bridge in that would give us access onto the Obonga Greenstone Belt. We know the route that our local Indigenous partners would prefer us to use, and it's a route that works for us. And putting trails in are very possible as well. But at this stage, the cost of the bridge, which we've had an initial indication of, would be circa $700,000. Well, for that, we can do a huge amount of helicopter-supported drill programs without having the disturbance of putting infrastructure in place that isn't necessarily warranted should we not carry on doing the work that's being done. So I'm hesitant on that until we absolutely nail a discovery that we think could lead to something of a commercial tilt in terms of an actual mine. And we're progressing forward on that. So each individual area, let's run through those. I'm going to actually work from left to right on the map that you're seeing in front of you. So we've got a high priority exploration target area. That's a very interesting area. There's been a lot of movement within that area and faulting, and it's actually never been even picked over. But from the geological survey by the Canadian Geological Survey of late 1990s, actually is an area that we think is really interesting. But we're going to park that for the time being. Obonga has many offerings, and that's one of them. But we'll then move on to Wishbone. Wishbone is an area where we discovered and confirmed is a VMS. So VMS is a volcanic massive sulfide system. It's a black smoker, and these things are formed on the seabed. Effectively, the water that goes into a magma chamber, it's leached through the rocks, which pick up the commodity. Generally, it's copper, zinc, lead. You get gold in VMSs as well. It's leached through into the magma chamber. The magma chamber superheats the water, and then that water finds a fracture in the Earth's crust, and then it comes through, and it's always at the ocean bed. It's never anything other than the ocean bed. Comes through, it hits the water, so it cools down rapidly and very quickly, and your commodities drop out. But because commodities drop out of the steam at different stages of the cooling process, you tend to get it in different layers. Now, at Wishbone, we drilled in the autumn of 2021. In total, in 2 drill holes, we hit over 82 meters of semi and massive sulfide. They're huge intercepts. We know that this system is exceptionally big. We didn't hit mineralization, and that has always been an issue on Obonga. BHP have been here. BHP love the geology. Every report you read from BHP, from their work up to and including 1992, shows that they were very keen on Obonga. But the Windy Crag scandal basically meant that they withdrew totally from exploration in the whole of Canada, not just on Obonga. And we're really the first company to put everything together in this area since then. You also had Dome there, very, very well-known company in Canada who operated in the 70s. They eventually got took out in the 80s and dissolved into another miner. But yeah, so Wishbone, we know it's a big system now. Our drilling of autumn 2022, we actually hit what I call a black swan event, and it is a black swan event for the Wishbone area. We hit mineralization in the form of zinc it was averaged out over 3.5 meters at a circa 6%. It actually topped out at nearly 12% over half a meter. But that tells us that the fluids running through the Wishbone VMS system were carrying mineralization. That's why it's a black swan event. We know that Obonga carries mineralization at a level that's commercial. Now that's a huge leap forward, and it instills a huge amount of confidence.
So even though you haven't discovered it yet, you're confident that it's moved through, and you just need to find it.
Yeah, it's the way the system's formed, Mark. So if you could picture the veins on a leaf, if that helps. So you'll have an ore body somewhere within the system, but those fluids don't just stay in one area. You know, they'll find faults and gaps, a bit like water sitting on a floor, and it will find little gaps to seep through, and so it disperses to a certain extent. And what we've done is effectively found one of those limbs, and it would be away from a main ore body. Now we're confident now that there is an ore body there due to that intercept. We've now got to go and find it. Our own belief after the discovery is that the only thing to do at Wishbone now is to do step out drilling to go looking for it. But I'll cover that in a bit more detail in a minute. Actually, we've got another slide that will show this. And if I move away from Wishbone for a moment and go on to survey. Survey, again, we've got another slide comes here. Survey is another VMS target. We put one hole into survey. You'll see why shortly. And we discovered anomalous zinc over approximately 14 meters. And survey is another VMS. But again, all we can do there is step out the drilling. We've got the data, we've got the mag surveys, and we've got to take it to the next level. If from left to right, you then hit Silver Rim first. Silver Rim has a remarkable silver showing and also a lithium showing in lake sediments. That's very high. Now, this area, the Obonga Greenstone Belt, sits south of Green Tech Metals, Luke's company, and they are making great strides and big waves in the lithium market. So lithium is well known within the wider area, but we've got to get to silver, and we never got there on our campaign in autumn of 2022 due to snowfall. But it's a high priority target for us, but maybe not as high as stepping out and drilling at Wishbone and survey. But then you move across to Awkward. Awkward, we know now, has graphite, flake graphite. We never went looking for that. We were looking for a conduit potentially carrying nickel, platinum and palladium. Awkward, we need to go and do further drilling, deeper drilling. And we love the Awkward area, but again, it needs to be parked just for the time being. Ottertooth, that's down to drill. We are very confident that's another VMS. You'll see a map shortly as to why. And again, that's your 5 named areas on Obonga, but we're absolutely convinced there's going to be more. But as a junior explorer, you have to narrow down your targets, and that's certainly what we're doing.
Okay, so looking to narrow down the target. So Awkward, you found graphite, but that's not what you're after. So you're putting that on hold, that area for the moment. Going to look at Silver Rim and Ottertooth to get some drills there. And in the meantime, you have 2 discovered VMSs effectively, Wishbone and Survey. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why Obonga has gone from being just being an interest in Archean area, Archean Greenstone Belt area, since we arrived, to actually now we call it a VMS camp. VMSs are known to cluster, and what you've got 80 kilometers to Obonga's east, apologies, to its west, is an area called Sturgeon's Lake. And Jim Franklin, who's a renowned VMS geologist in Canada, very, very well-known guy, very well respected, actually called Obonga the sister greenstone belt to Sturgeon's Lake. The Sturgeon's Lake had 5 past producing mines on it. They all produced in the late 60s, 70s, into the 80s. Every one of them produced at a commercial level. And the fact that this greenstone belt was available still surprises us to this day. And the results are just gathering more and more momentum.
Okay. And the objective of Panther, we're going to come on to that, but is that really to prove up the area as a VMS? I forget the word that you called, but the VMS camp to then attract interest of majors. Okay.
Yeah. So Obonga, in truth, is this has everything a major would want. It has scale, it has opportunity, and we now know it's got mineralization.
Okay.
So the idea would certainly be to tempt in the bigger guys to come and do what needs to be done here. Really, I don't see Panther doing anything other than turning this into a commercially viable opportunity for us and for our shareholders.
Okay.
and the majors are fully aware of Obonga now.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programmes at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.